Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight for this celebration of what we do in the shadows. Let's start by bringing out the cast and showrunner. First, we'll start with everybody's favorite energy vampire, Colin Robinson, Mark Proksch. He is Nandor, and he is relentless, Mr. Kayan Novak.
Your cousin.
Mr. Laszlo Cravensworth himself, Matt Berry.
Hello there. Thank you. Always the biggest here, unless Kristen's
Finally,
here.
please welcome executive producer and showrunner Paul Sims. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Paul, I'm wondering if you'd like to start by apologizing to all of us for getting "We Didn't Start the Fire" stuck in our heads.
That was not a cheap song to buy to use in the show, but it was so integral to that particular plot. I'm glad we got it.
Mark, were you tormented on set by that song, or did they add it in post?
They added it in post. I mean, we knew what it was going to be, but at the same time, you never know if you'll get the clearance. So we didn't have to sit and listen to it a bunch of times. But even, just referencing it gets it in your damn head.
Exactly. So, Paul, you and the writers knew going into this season that it would be the final season. When did you first start having those conversations, and why was now the right time?
Around the end of season 1, I think. No, we at the beginning of this season, we just felt like better too soon than too late, and we didn't want to be doing it after we'd used everything up. And we knew it was going to be sad, but that also gave us a clear direction for the season, which was we thought about all the other shows who've done final seasons and the shows that are like a very special final season. And we were like, no, we want to make this purely funny from beginning to end and not be too sad or sentimental about it. But there are some sad and sentimental parts. But it's funny. It's just a funny season. So at least it gave us a goal.
Right, right. And Matt, first off, congratulations on your Emmy nomination this year.
Thank you very much.
So how did you learn that this was going to be the final season?
Like everyone else, I think it was Christmas Eve.
It was very close to Christmas.
And he said he wanted us all at the same time on this Zoom, and that's never a good sign. And said, so that's it. And we were like, okay. And there was no explanation, and that was it. No, but as he said, I know. But he is right in that, because I've sort of seen it happen with other shows. If you hang around for too long, there's resentment for the work that's gone before. And that should, you should never be in that sort of position. You should have cut loose before then, which is what I think we've done, I hope.
Unless you want to get very, very rich.
Well, Kayan and Mark, I wanted to ask you, what was your reaction to hearing this news?
Same as Matt. What the fuck?
I think, as I remember it, your Zoom screen went black and you just turned it off and disappeared and then came back later.
Merry Christmas was the last thing that was said.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't super surprised. I don't know if any of us were super surprised other than Kayan.
I'm surprised you came back for season 2, to be honest.
I thought it would be either season 6 or season 7. It's a hard show to make. It's expensive, and you like Paul said. I mean, you want to leave people wanting more than.
We also there's something about the TV landscape has changed where 6 seasons seems like a long time and quite an achievement. Like in the old days, 6 seasons was like, okay, now maybe you guys can make it to 12 seasons or something. But no, it is a hard and expensive show to do also. That was a factor.
Yeah. So let's talk about the episode we just watched, The Return of Jerry. It absolutely tracks. The vampires would completely forget that they had a fifth roommate and that they were supposed to wake him up 28 years ago. First of all, Paul, how did the idea for Jerry, the fifth vampire, come about?
A lot of it came out of we wanted a character who would ask all the unanswered questions that we'd ask each other in the writer's room. Like over the years, we'd go like, all right, so they're vampires. They don't let humans know about them. Well, why do they have a documentary crew following them? And we'd go like, just don't worry about that. We won't think about that, you know. So that was part of it. And we had actually talked since season 3 about the idea of a long-lost fifth roommate. And there's also a little desire on our part to make fun a little bit of the TV sort of trope of introducing your long-lost brother who comes in or something, you know, like that shows used to do, like, this will re-energize the show. So it was that, sort of.
Well, and for the actors, what is it like to have a new person come in, some fresh blood, so to speak, and like change up the dynamic of the ensemble?
It's great. With Mike O'Brien, I mean, he's a friend, and so it was nice having someone to go to lunch with that isn't one of these people. You know, so anytime, or like Tim Heidecker coming in, that, you know, anytime I could get a friend to come in.
We hired a lot of Mark's friends this season. That was the goal.
Would be great, or Zach Woods.
Yeah.
So that was always great. And, you know, our favorite thing is when it's just us in a room, you know.
No cameras.
No, a scene with just us is still our favorite thing, but it's nice to have some fresh blood in there.
Those are my favorite scenes, too, when it's the entire cast from whatever situation just all being in one room at the same time. It's just a joy to
mine
write
too.
and
The fancy room.
funny to watch.
And I love that Jerry did immediately question the human camera crew and what are they going to do with the footage. First of all, and the vampires, of course, have no idea. Will we get answers to those questions? And what role will the documentary crew play in this season?
Not as big a role as in the last season of The Office, which I thought was brilliant. I really liked what they did there. But yes, almost all your questions will be answered in this last season. The other thing I haven't said this before, I've got to point out, is that Jerry the Vampire is the worst name, but in the writer's room, we were like, okay, so there's a fifth room, like call it just Jerry or something, Jerry the Vampire, and then we never got around to changing it to something new. So that's what it is now.
But then you do, like, you call out its virtues. Laszlo calls out its virtues as a name.
Yeah, that was like trying to save our asses at the very end. Just have Laszlo say, it's a perfect name. Bam, Jerry the Vampire.
Of course, we also learned that Guillermo has moved out to the garden shed. And Kayan, tell us a little bit about what we'll see this new phase in Nandor and Guillermo's relationship.
Well, I guess, you know, up until I turned him into a vampire in season 5, you know, everyone was like, well, you know, what's the point of having Guillermo here, you know, because he wanted to be a vampire, and I finally turned him into a vampire, and he didn't want to be a vampire anymore. Like, you know, where's Nandor's leverage on Guillermo? So splitting them up and kind of making him go off and do his own thing, and kind of leaving Nandor kind of, well, he doesn't need me anymore, so how do I kind of work my way back into his life? I thought it was a brilliant way of kind of keeping that relationship interesting for us as well, you know, performing it. So.
Well, you have to as well, because he's the eyes of the audience.
Yeah. And from the very beginning, over every season, we've talked about what would happen if Guillermo became a vampire. And we all said all along, well, the show would end. Like, he's realized his goal. And then we often like to paint ourselves into corners at the end of the season. So at that end of season 5, we did it. He was a vampire for an hour and a half and decided that was not who he was. And so it's fun when there's a challenge ahead for the season. Like, what happens now that he's achieved his life's purpose?
But Harvey's not here, so enough about He clearly didn't care enough to be here.
his favourite scenes are Harvey scenes.
Yes.
I just have one more question about Guillermo, and then we'll move on. He's back working at Panera Bread, bless him. And Paul, I've always wondered, like, how did the writers settle on Panera Bread, and were other fast casual restaurants considered?
This is absolutely like the name Jerry the Vampire. We're sitting there, we go, and he's got a job at, like, I don't know, fucking Panera Bread, whatever. And then someone writes it down, and then we never bother to go back and fix it, and that becomes the thing.
Did the good people at Panera Bread ever reach out to you?
No. Well, initially, we were like, as the seasons went on, we were like, we'd like to actually show him working at Panera Bread or being somewhere at Panera Bread. And initially, they were like, we're not so into that. Then they got into it, and they let us shoot. They let us shoot in an actual Panera Bread in the episode where Nandor has a heart-to-heart with Patton Oswalt and then pushes him off a rooftop.
So in the premiere also, Colin Robinson packs on quite a few pounds with all the negative energy in the vampire residence. So Mark, tell us about the process of transforming Colin's body, and what was the biggest challenge of being chubby Colin?
It was very funny on the page, and then hopefully it works in the episode, but I hate anything where I have to have glue on my face. And so, because at night you'll be reading in the bed and you'll feel sticky. And I have such OCD about that stuff. And so when I read it, I was like, oh, that's really funny, but shit. And inevitably the makeup artist will say, oh, no, I do a thing that you won't feel it at all, and we can get rid of it. Never. It's like animal trainers on set are the biggest liars in Hollywood. They'll say, oh yeah, you need a squirrel to jump there and then run over there. And then on the day they'll be like, well, it's a squirrel, what do you want? So it's the same thing, you know. But it's funny, hopefully people like it.
Now, did you have a stunt performer for the mobility scooter crash?
No, I'm sure my fellow actors wish I had, because I was kind of ruthless with that cart and bumping into people. So,
one of the things I think many fans will miss is Laszlo's creative pronunciation of various words. For example, in this episode, we learned that he told Nadja she couldn't get a job because it was too dangerous. So Matt, I'm just wondering, how did this quirk of Laszlo's...
See, I didn't even remember that one. It isn't anything that's sort of planned. It's just to amuse myself. If I've been saying that line sort of more than once, then by the fourth time I'm kind of fed up with saying it. So I'll have to say it in some way that's going to, amuse me. That's all it is.
Yeah.
There's no sort of trick to this or anything at all, I'm sorry to say.
No, I think a lot of this is us trying to make each other laugh, like as writers and actors, and then just hoping that everyone else will find the same things amusing. We were watching that episode last night. We were really laughing at how fun it is when Nadja imitates Laszlo, and she's like, he said it was too dangerous, and really, it's really funny.
Do the writers ever put words in that they hope will get a spin?
They always try to do that, but it just gets ignored.
I don't.
Well, because like I said, because you don't know where it's going to be, and if someone sort of pre-plans it, then it's not going to be funny. It's just got to be off the cuff.
The best ones are the surprising ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know what stage direction we would put in there, say in a funny Matt Berry style way.
So Kayvon, tell us a little bit about the origins of Nandor's distinctive accent. I understand that you used this accent at your audition?
Yeah, I did. I got the sides and I thought, well, let's see how it sounds speaking like this. It's kind of based on a Polish accent that I kind of used beforehand. So, it's kind of like this, and hello, I'm from Poland. And, if you ever met a Polish person, that's how they speak. Every single one of those motherfuckers. I was like, okay, then I will speak like this, and see how it goes. And I had my hair was long actually at the time, which was actually a blessing, because it was I just had it down and quite fuzzy for the audition, and they were like, keep your hair fuzzy and keep talking in that fucked up accent. Thank you very much.
And Matt, I read that you initially suggested to the creators Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement that Laszlo have an Eastern European accent.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought that they'd want, and I said, that's what I'll do, and they were like,
I beat you to it.
well, yeah. He did, but they were very firm right from the start. They said, no, you will talk like you talk. So there was just no room for it.
Were you disappointed at all, or?
I didn't mind. I was just kind of happy to work with them again.
Yeah. And Mark, Colin is very tuned into pop culture. We see this a little bit in this episode, and we always see it. He wants to tell Jerry about the dress and Mike Dukakis and all that. And I'm just wondering, do any of these ideas or sort of fascinations of Colin's, do they come from you? Do you suggest them?
Not anything past like 1990. I don't know anything about memes or like the dress thing I had to be told about. If it's pre-1990, that's where I can go on and on and on about, which you see.
There was the episode where they went to the vampire opera. They walk in and Colin goes, "Oh, good, we're right in the front row." Me and one other writer who's also in his 50s were like, "That's Bob Uecker from the commercial. That's so funny." We're like, "No one's going to get that. Who cares?" And then Mark was like, "Oh yeah, Bob Uecker joke."
And of course, we love a good Colin rant. Do you have a favorite Colin rant, either one that made it or didn't make it?
Oh gosh, I always tried to get wine in and it never made it because Jermaine knows nothing about wine and Paul would never put it in because I actually know some wine stuff and it is the most boring to anyone who doesn't care, about wine. It is so boring, that and jazz. And I love jazz, and so I would try putting stuff in there and they inevitably took both of those things out. So I would keep trying, but yeah.
Well, I want to take a minute to give some kudos to the crew and other people behind the scenes who make this show so great. And I was reading an interview with director Yana Gorskaya, she said, "We have a pretty regular TV budget, but these crews are so resourceful and inventive that we always manage to pull off massive things." So, Paul, I'm wondering, initially, is there an example of that you'd like to share?
I mean, so many examples, because our budget is like a regular half-hour show that has like 5 people sitting around on couches wearing sweaters, but we did everything. Part of it was the best example I can think of, because it's the first example of when I was really impressed by the Canadian crews, is in the very first or second episode. There's a joke where Laszlo is in a cab and he gets his cape caught in the cab door and he gets dragged down the street. And that was the first sort of difficult stunt we did, and the stunt team up there planned it out, and the writers are saying, "So how long is this going to take?" And I've been doing this for a while. I said, "We're going to be here till 4 a.m. This is just," and very first time it worked. Second time we got one for safety, it worked perfectly. And just our Paul Jones, who designed all the creatures and the prosthetics, was amazing. Shane Fox, our production designer, who built all the sets, including the laboratory you'll see this season. Laura Montgomery, just all those people up there figured out a way to really stretch our Canadian dollar, I guess. But it's such a joy to work on something and almost be able to write it the way you would an animated show, where you're not worried about how you're going to do it. Like, this is what would be great, and then sit down with those people and go, "We could do this, we could do that." It really is what made the show possible.
Well, I'd love to give the actors a chance too to just talk about how the crew and the production team are so essential to helping you do good work. I assume the wardrobe really helps, and like the sets. I know you've talked about those before. What are some things that the sort of the unsung people who help make this show so great?
Wire work?
No, fuck the wire work. I will not be missing that. No, for me, sort of personally, it's absolutely the set. The set informs how you get up, how you move around. You believing yourself to be sort of 400 years old and that. And the thing is, it's a sort of 360 for a lot of the time. So you are inside a house. Mm-hmm. And the attention to detail within the house, because you just see stuff that's on the wall, but there'll be stuff kind of written at the bottom of the paintings. You know what I mean? There's detail absolutely everywhere, and that really helps me.
Yeah, I mean, the makeup, the hair department, you know, the costumes, it just all kind of, you know, adds to the illusion in a beautiful way for an actor, you know, especially.
Yeah.
You know, it really helps.
And Mark, are you sad that you didn't get to do any wire work?
Very little. Yeah, no, it's painful. It hurts. It legitimately hurts. It's fun, but it hurts. So, no. Anytime I had to put on one of those, I was, happy to get out of it.
And Kayan, I assume you won't miss it.
I mean, it was kind of fun. I mean, you know, kind of shooting 60 feet up. Oh, they tell you it's going to be 20 feet, and then they shoot you up 60 feet. You're like, how high are we going? Oh, just see the roof line over there? That's how Canadian motherfuckers. You see that roof line over there? I'm like, yeah. Is that, we're just going as high as that. And then they're like, and action, whoosh. You can see the roof line from about 40 feet higher.
With concrete underneath it.
Also, Kayan's genitalia is much smaller than the rest of us, so it doesn't hurt him as
And from
much.
60 feet up, it's even.
So, Paul, you've described the characters, the vampires, as characters who don't experience, quote, too much permanent change or growth. And I'm wondering for the actors, like, what are the pros and cons of playing a character that doesn't really evolve emotionally?
It's a blessing.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
it's all pros, I'd say.
In what way?
Well, because you can do exactly the same things that you did 6 years ago. You know, you don't have to. There hasn't been this kind of massive story thing that has sort of changed something that you were kind of happy with to begin with. Because, you know, this is 6 years, and for them, that's like a lunchtime. You know what I mean? It's nothing. So they won't change in that time.
That makes sense.
Also, it keeps us from falling into the current comedy trap, which is heart. And nothing ruins a good comedy more, you know. And so we have moments, small moments, but they're earned and they're they feel authentic.
And then they're squashed.
and then they're wiped away with a dumb joke. So I think it kept the show fresh. You can jump in at any point in the series and get it.
But you did get to experience or play some of Colin's other, as baby Colin Robinson and then beyond. Like, was that an interesting challenge to sort of chart his emotional growth through his as he grew?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go to school for acting, so I never dissect the character too much. I kind of show up and do it. But what I will say about Baby Colin was it was great because most of the year I got to stay in LA, and I didn't have to deal with the freezing cold of Toronto in the winter. And I got to film at the old Max Sennett studios near my house.
Well, this part of you got to.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then when I got there, I got to play like this adolescent, teenager, and just Matt seeing me in some of these outfits was worth the price of admission. So, yeah, it was fun.
I do have to interject that one of the big inspirations for Baby Colin, particularly in the way he talked endlessly about Legos and Roblox, is my son Charlie, who's right there. Wave to everyone.
Paul would send me, I don't know if Charlie
he
knows,
knows.
but Paul would send me recordings. They would take walks, and he would send me recordings, so I would try to get down his patter, but yeah.
That's so funny. I want to talk a little bit about the new season, which premieres October 21st. And so we see this season, Colin will help Laszlo with his project to create a man out of cadaver parts. Matt, how would you describe their working relationship?
Well, he doesn't remember that I brought him up as a child, so he's spending most of the time wondering why this guy wants to spend time with him. Do you know what I mean? Whereas whereas Laszlo can. So it's this weird thing. One doesn't know and one does. But it's just a Frankenfurter thing. He's building something to have sex with. It's no more complicated or scientific than that.
And Mark, what do you like about this dynamic with the characters?
Well, they're a good odd couple, and that always works, I think. And I think we've built in enough backstory with them that it doesn't feel like one is shoehorned in with the other. And I think that Colin's just happy to be around someone and spend time with
That's true.
another person from the house, vampire from the house.
And I understand one episode will also feature an homage to Apocalypse Now, with Nandor in the sort of Marlon Brando role as Kurt. So Kayvon, can you give us a little tease of that?
Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without giving away too much of the plot.
That is the plot.
Sorry?
That is the plot.
I guess that is it, pretty much.
That is the plot. Yeah. Nandor disappears and they have to find him, and what is he doing? They need to do
They're basically sent up the river to terminate him with extreme prejudice.
Terminate's command, yeah.
He's absconded.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't I'm not
I thought you did a little, did you not?
I know, but I didn't do it.
Okay. I'm not asking you to do it now.
I'm doing it. Okay. Let me just do it, okay?
There was, in preparing for that episode, there was a long conversation we had about should we shave Nandor's head. But we didn't do it. Everyone relax.
And, in the trailer, we see that Nadja does get to live out her working girl dreams. Paul, can you tell us a little bit about bringing these characters to an office?
I think it's always been funny on the show, going back to season 1, when the vampires go out in the real world and you see their idea of how humans behave and them trying to imitate it. And it just really struck us as funny that Nadja going into an office, the first thing she would think is, well, I have to look like an office lady, and that would be basically Melanie Griffith, working girl with the big shoulder pads and everything, and also the pride that Nandor takes. They haven't seen the second episode yet, have they? Well, they both, Guillermo gets a new job, and Nandor and Nadja both think they have to go to his new job to help him succeed and do well. And Nandor ends up really liking the new job he gets, which is being the janitor, because he gets to wear a uniform, he's needed, he has a purpose every day, people respect him, he has something to do. It's just fun seeing them out in the real world.
Yeah, and this is a cast that, we've heard you guys talk before about improv, and there's a lot of improv on set, and I guess I'd love to hear from the actors about how their approach to improvising as these characters has evolved or changed over the years. I don't know if people had to get more comfortable with it, or how it's developed. How about you, Matt?
None of these had.
Well, we were hired because that's what we did. So that's what I wanted to be doing, you know what I mean? And because of the sort of nature of the format, you have to look as if you just kind of had those thoughts. It can't be, this is from someone who sounds sort of dramatic, but it's got to, it's got to look as if I've just thought it and I'm not finding it funny. I'm finding it either irritating or, sort of confusing. That's where I do it from. These thoughts have just have got to have come to you and out straight away. That's how it's got to look.
Yeah. I mean, I was hired, I think, specifically to improvise, and so that's what I did a lot. And then it got cut out a lot. Then I was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm just saying the words. But I will say that you did leave one little bit in for me, which was, can I get a beep beep?
Oh, yeah.
Finally, man.
Yeah, I love that.
What about you, Mark?
Guy, that's yours.
Yeah. It's made to fucking go.
It didn't really evolve for me. The first show I did was The Office. And so on that, we were encouraged to improvise in a similar fashion. And then not so much on Better Call Saul. But you didn't want to improvise on that show. It was, but this show you needed to, because the scripts were weak. And so... I'm fired already. It doesn't matter.
You're refired.
No, I mean, again, like I said, you hear improvise a lot and you think, oh, they came up with all this stuff. You always go off the script, and 9 times out of 10, the script's the funniest thing. Yeah. So,
but all these people were hired because of their improvisational abilities, including Natasha and Kristen Shaw, and a lot of our guest stars also. Especially this season, where we wanted to use really funny people that we knew, or Tim Heidecker and Zach Woods and Steve Coogan and who am I forgetting? Mike O'Brien, and we just wanted to bring in people that were the same way. It's hard. It's great when you have people who can all improvise together because they listen to each other, and it's hard when you have one person who never has done it before, or the worst case, someone who's never done it before and thinks it's really easy, and it's just a matter of just saying whatever comes into your head. That's difficult.
I assume everybody has to have a favorite improvised line, either of their own or someone else's.
Can I get the
Can I get That is a good one.
Not many to choose from me.
How about you, Mark?
Can I get
yeah. Can I get
on the end of that?
I did do it. I threw you a bone on that.
Yeah,
yep.
you did.
I wouldn't have done.
I know. You wouldn't have. No, there was one season where I'm roasting Laszlo, and I had 2 roasts. I wrote one that was filthy. And that was just to break Matt up. And then I did the one that was written. But I think that was my favorite moment, was just trying to get the rest of the cast to laugh at the most disgusting things that have ever come out of my mouth, knowing full well my parents would never see it.
Kayan, I read that you often made it your mission on set to make Harvey break character, and I'm just wondering.
Harvey.
He said it in an interview with you.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm just wondering, why did that bring you so much joy, and how often were you successful?
I think I did that with Harvey because I guess I didn't mind fucking up in front of Harvey as much as I minded fucking up in front of everyone else. I think that was kind of one of the things about working with these guys, is that you really wanted to bring your A game to it, if you even had an A game. I didn't know that I did. But the scenes in the fancy room when it was all of us, I remember in the early seasons 1 and 2, those were the scenes where I'd feel probably the most nervous going in, because I felt like, oh wow, these guys are here and it's got to be good and I can't fuck up. Then I'd fuck up, and then I'd be like, it's okay to fuck up, and then kind of further on, you get more relaxed and you trust people more. But yeah, I never trusted or respected Harvey. I just did what the fuck I wanted to do. Fuck that guy. Fuck that fucking guy. No, we just go on, you know what I mean? We just had that kind of that dynamic.
Yeah. Though we still have, this whole season to enjoy, I want to take a moment to look back and ask each of you to share a favorite episode from the past 5 seasons, or one of your favorites if it's hard to pick one. So, Mark, I'm going to ask you to start.
We filmed the show in the dead of winter in Toronto, and a lot of it is night work. And so you'll start at 10 a.m. on Monday, and by the end of the week, you're filming until the sun comes up. And then you start again, and that's 3 months. And so it all blends into one. It really does. So it's hard to even remember. You know, I guess one of my favorite ones was when Laszlo and Colin are in a club, and Colin is at the last the last time he performs, and he storms out. That was fun. You know, I'm way too big for the outfit, and I'm channeling my Fosse, and it just looks so ridiculous. That was one of my favorite moments. I don't know if I have a favorite episode per se.
Kayan, how about you?
I would say, because I do, when we were filming, I would always go back and watch some episodes just to kind of remind myself of the show, I guess. But I've watched the casino episode in season 3 or 4. I really enjoy that. That's just a fun one.
That's when Andrew becomes obsessed with the Big Bang Theory.
With the Bazinga, Big Bang Theory, and then Ghost as well.
Ghost is a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you write either of those ones? You did.
Yeah.
You wrote both of them, right?
I know I wrote the Ghost one.
The Ghost one,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how about you, Matt?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I was thinking about this the other day, and the only way that I can answer is to think of the title and then the first images. And for me, they're not necessarily scenes. It's anything in the fancy room. That's what I think of when someone says this, you know, the name of this show. That black goat that didn't do what it was told. And Mark Hamill breaking a snooker cue and kind of holding it like it was a lightsaber. I will never forget any of those things.
And Paul, what about you?
I love them all. There's 1.5 episodes I don't like, and I'm not going to tell you which ones they are. But I would say, speaking of them all being in one room, the episode where they had the headmaster in and they were trying to get baby Colin his interview for a private school, and they kept switching characters and hypnotizing him to forget. That's one of my favorites. Jackie Daytona is one of my favorites. Casino's one of my favorites. Was that for Jackie Daytona? Yeah. But I am going to be really bold and say I think when all is said and done, the series finale, which you guys will see sometime in November or December, is probably one of the best episodes we've done. It really has everything, and I'm so excited for people to see it. I mean, it's kind of sad because it's the end, but I was so happy with the way it came out.
I'm surprised nobody said go flip yourself.
Oh, I love that one. I love 48.5 episodes or whatever it is, 58.5 episodes.
So Matt, you celebrated your 50th birthday on the final day of shooting.
I did, yeah.
What was it like experiencing?
Thank you. Well,
what was it like
if someone would
experiencing
have
those
said,
in the same time?
Yeah, if someone would have said 20 years ago that I would be dressed as a vampire in Canada for my 50th. Yeah, no, it was to be honest with you, it was the best place for me to be, because I didn't really want that day to come, and it was much better that it was, you know, around people and I was at work and I was kind of, you know, distracted by that. It was cool. You know, and everyone was so kind and stuff, you know, so like bless them for that.
Yeah. And for the rest of you guys, what was that last week of filming like? Like what stands out for you when you think about that final week?
Sad. I mean, it was when you know the end's coming, that's the worst bit, because, you know, when we got to Canada to film the last season, I thought, oh no, this whole season is going to be like one big sad kind of like, oh, this is the last this is the last that. And then just the momentum of work, you forget about all that. And then the closer you get to the end, the more you're like, oh, I've got to have the last rap party and I've got to tell everyone how I feel about them and how wonderful it was. Oh, big goodbyes, and who's going to cry? Am I going to cry? Am I going to get upset? If I cry, will I cry in front of these people? Is Matt going to cry? Matt's not going to fucking cry. Is Mark going to cry? Nah, I don't think he's going to cry, you know. And then, did anyone actually cry?
Everyone else.
It really was. everyone but the cast.
Everyone but the Brits. The Brits didn't cry. Everyone else did.
Harvey didn't cry. I didn't cry.
You didn't cry.
Yeah,
Paul, did you cry? You didn't cry.
Paul was
I'll
in
cry
tears.
when I'm done editing it, which is still ongoing.
You're tired. I mean, you want to go home.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean that sounds.
You don't let anyone know that you want to go home.
I usually did.
Yeah, you did. We won.
No, I mean it's bittersweet. I mean
Yeah.
it's you're very proud. It would be different if we thought we were leaving the show with an awful season or a crappy finale. But you know, knowing that those are good, at least in your mind, it's not
we
necessarily
really
for me to say. You feel okay about leaving.
And we did shoot everyone's final scenes. Like we shoot so much out of order, but we did shoot everyone's final scenes and everyone's final scene together, like right at the very end. For that reason,
Which was nice.
I was too busy during the, and maybe this was a coping mechanism. I was too busy during the last week to get sad because Matt had said, "Have you seen this guy who did like a GoPro video, a 360 GoPro video of like the." Basically, it came down to me with a bicycle helmet with a GoPro on top of it, walking in and walking through the whole set so that we would have this 360.
But it's worth
thing.
doing because
Yeah.
that'll like be around forever.
And then I got lucky because then I got to the end of the set and they were just coming in to do a scene. So I have a very dramatic video following Matt from behind. It looks like a Scorsese movie of him coming in from outside, walking through the entire set and ending up in the fancy room where everyone's gathered to do their
that's
stuff.
cool.
Which we'll use for Matt's in memoriam in a couple of years.
God. Oh no! I don't doubt it. But just to add to it, the one for the vampires, the thing that we knew we would probably be doing for the last time was the white makeup, because you might stick your fangs back in, or like wear your jacket. I won't, but But when got rid of the white face for the last time, it's like, yeah, that's it. I'm never going to have that. That's never going to happen again, and that's the end of the vampire.
Yeah. Well, I assume, I mean, the sets, when we talked about how beautiful it is and the detail, there's so many beautiful and, memorable props. I'm wondering what people took. So, Mark, did you take anything of Colin's or anything from the set?
I took a sweater of his that I'm actually fond of and want to wear. And I'm out of a job. I need clothes and stuff. I took, I think, a little knick-knack from each of the rooms, and that was about it.
You didn't take a baby Colin?
Oh, yes. All the baby Collins were sent to me. I only asked for one. No one wanted them, apparently. The fucking Naja doll is at the Smithsonian, but no one wanted the Colin doll. So yeah, I have three, two of which are in my garage. I don't know what the hell to do with them.
Oh, good.
Avon, we saw at Comic-Con, I believe you took a portrait of
I took more than one. I took all of my portraits.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do with half of
No,
them.
they're
I
in
put one
storage.
up. I took my fangs as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fangs.
And Paul, how about you?
I took what I thought was the original portrait that Donald Logue had painted. There's an episode where he painted the portrait of all the vampires, and I said very early on, I want that. And they said, FX wants that. I said, send FX a fake one. I want the real one. And I won, and I got it. And then Matt, it turns out, had also said he wanted that one. So he took the real one, and I got a fake one.
Yeah, it's not strictly true. There was actually two of those made. One in case there was like blood spattered or stunts, but the one that you've got is the one that was on camera pretty much all the time.
Good. The only other
I had the stunt one. That's the stunt one.
Very pleased with himself. The other, I took way too much stuff. Where my wife was like, "Why do you need two fencing helmets?" But the funniest thing I took was we had the episode where Sofia Coppola was a guest at the nightclub and she got her head torn off. So we had a very realistic Sofia Coppola latex head, and I know her from that episode and stuff. And so I like, oh, you know what? This will be a great gift to give to her. And I put it in like a shopping bag from Canada with all my other stuff that I brought back. And I have not given it to her yet, but every once in a while I'm like, oh, where's my little Wi-Fi thing that I had in Canada? I'll be going through my bags and I'll go like, holy shit. It is very, very realistic. So I'd like to get that out of my house at some point.
And where is the Nadja doll?
Well, there are two Nadja. One Nadja doll will be in the lobby of FX, along with other. They have cool memorabilia. They have the mail robot from the Americans, and they have some other stuff. And then there's one. Well, there's one other Nadja doll that I've said I would really like that, but I don't know what happened. And we had a special Nadja doll made for Natasha herself for her birthday last season. So there are 3 existing Nadja dolls. And
Well, we have a couple audience questions. This one is from Nancy Weller, and she asks for Paul, who was the guest star who got away? The person you tried hardest to get on the show, but it never worked out.
I would say Steve Coogan, but then we got him. We had always. He is just
Jeff Bridges?
my absolute favorite. No, I got to say, Steve Coogan is my absolute favorite. Everything he's done, and Matt knows him, and Natasha knows him very well. And he had said to them, "Yeah, I'd love to do it." And then we called it, like, "No, he can't do it." It went on for months, like he can't do it, and it was just heartbreaking and maddening. And then we realized that the wrong people were talking to him, and his assistant was like, "No, he really wants to do it. Just call me. You should have called me in the first place." But as far as other ones, look, it's aim high. We always wanted Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise to reprise, and we did reach out, and we got polite. Maybe not this time, maybe next season, but now they missed their chance. And
Their loss. And then another question from the audience, from Richard Gomez. He wants to know, for the cast, what was your all-time favorite line of dialogue to say? So, who wants to start? Can I get a beep beep?
Mine was, I tried to do this run, and I don't know if it made it in or not, where we would be in the fancy room and I would have my newspaper and I would say something like, "Oh, I see broccoli's on sale at Shop Mart." And to start the scene, and then I would change it throughout the series.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they really got in or not. But that was always the raspberries on sale. Because you're saying it to vampires who can't eat.
yeah.
What could be more annoying? Useless information.
How about you, Kayan?
I would say probably from season 1, the Baron's Night Out. We drank the drug of some people, and the people, they want drugs, and now I'm a wizard.
How about you, Matt?
So has it got to be your own line?
It doesn't have to be. I mean,
Well, 'cause-
the question was the favorite line of dialogue to say.
Oh, right, to say, well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't even a line as such. It's whenever Gizmo's getting serious or intense or sort of losing his temper, I just go, "Ooh." And it's cheap and it works every time.
And here's an additional funny thing for that. We were editing the episode this season, and there was a part where Harvey was upset about something. You hear Matt go, "Ooh," and I was like, "Hold it, he didn't do that in the scene." They're like, "No, we stole it from one of the other people."
And Paul, do you have sort of a favorite joke or favorite line?
I love them all. No, I do think there's something that always is funny to me about Nandor saying, "I will fix," is very funny. And also when Nandor goes, "Fucking guy." I loved everything that Matt did as Jackie Daytona from Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah.
And the Colin one that hasn't even aired yet, it's very similar to, it's Colin sitting looking at the newspaper, and he chuckles to himself and he goes, "Oh, Marmaduke, you devil." But then he looks up and he goes, "They don't live long, the big dogs." It's very funny. It's true.
Well, looking ahead just for the season to come, I'd love to hear from each of the actors, just a little sort of preview of what fans can expect for your character this season. So, Mark, why don't you start?
There's quite a bit of Colin this season. It's a fun season for Colin. He's all over the place, but he's mostly with Laszlo, literally trying to make a friend. And you know, I can't really give much more away.
Okay.
For Nando, he's lost his Guillermo to the real world, so
You're at a low point.
I know. So I got to go and be a blue-collar guy for a bit, which he very much enjoys. I have a mop. I didn't name it, I should have done. And yeah, just kind of Nandoring around until the bitter end.
And how about Laszlo?
What can they expect from Laszlo? They can expect that as soon as the last episode comes to an end, you'll never see that character do anything new ever again. That will be the end of him.
And Paul, for the other characters, can you give us a little preview?
Nadja's very excited. She's always wanted to be out amongst humans, and so working in an office, even though it's there to help Guillermo, she really gets caught up in corporate life and enjoying it. The guide finally has someone who believes in the mission that they've been supposed to have been doing for 200 years of taking over America, so she's re-energized about that. But it's funny when you talk about each one's individual journeys, that everything's so interwoven. You know what I mean? It feels like I feel like whatever. I love the whole group together. That's what makes the show fun.
I actually really enjoyed doing some storylines with Natasha.
Yes,
Nando and Nadja together, kind of having a soul together. It was a really good. We felt like kind of brother and sister, like a sibling thing. It was.
It was fun seeing them work together as a unit.
Yeah.
And Matt, I believe you said at Comic-Con you teased that Laszlo and Nadja have maybe their biggest fight ever?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I don't know about ever. Within the 6 years. Well, because it's also, isn't it like revealed in the first one that they argued like that quite a while ago? Yeah. But that was just a device to keep them apart so he could spend time with Colin Robinson's character and she could go into the office.
And I guess, is there anything you'd like to say to the fans, who have come here and just in general? Mark, you were saying backstage that, you don't get to see each other you just see each other and you don't really get to see fan response until these moments.
Like I mentioned, we film up in Toronto and all you see the entire time is, each other. And so Comic-Con or these moments, it's really nice to hear reactions to the show. And the show would not have made it 6 seasons without word of mouth. I mean, it was such a slow burn, the buildup of the fans, and those were the comedies I liked growing up, so it was kind of neat to be in one.
Yeah, I mean, you guys. You fucking guys.
Did that twice.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for your time and for showing us the episode and telling us your stories. And thanks so much to all of you for being here.
Thank you.